Mike Sodini, the founder of Walk the Talk America, is on next.
But first, we really want to welcome American Shooters as our newest gun shop in San Diego and Gun Owners Radio's newest show sponsor. American Shooters just opened in El Cajon at 1468 Graves Avenue, just off Bradley in the 67. If you're looking for a great gun shop for any of your firearm needs, go visit Mark Alcon and his team at American Shooters. They have a great selection of new, used, and consigned firearms. That's American Shooters at 1464 Graves Avenue, off the Bradley exit in lovely El Cajon.
So we were talking to Jake a couple segments ago from Walk the Talk America, and now we're going to have Mike Sodini on, who's actually the founder of Walk the Talk America. Mike, you there?
Yes, I am. Thank you for having me.
You bet. Jake did an awesome job. He was very informative, and I really appreciated his information and his perspective. And I wanted to talk to you a little bit more about the actual organization. He went over. He talked about some mental health things. He talked about some of the things the organization does. But I wanted to talk to you a little bit more about the actual organization. I wanted to kick it off with kind of the big question. The big point, I guess. Why should gun owners care about suicide? What would you say to a gun owner who said, "Hey, that's this person's choice, and it's not my responsibility"? Why should gun owners care about suicide?
Well, there's a couple of reasons. Obviously, suicide by firearm, it takes up 2/3 of that number that gets lumped all together that's used against us constantly, right? That's something that I think we should address. And then the second reason is that we have to do a better job in the firearms community of showing our humanity, that there are good people there. And I believe that has worked against us because we tend to, and rightfully so, right? We've been called many different things by people that don't understand us. But if we continue to do the whole pry from my cold dead hands and not do anything else, it's going to put us in a perception that I think needs to change. It's something that I never saw when I came into the firearms community. So,
yeah, interesting. Every law out there, every gun law out there that we hate that shouldn't exist, could have been prevented by personal responsibility. So I think that, or at least the excuse for the law was based on a lack of personal responsibility. And then there's a whole argument over, of course, the government shouldn't be enforcing personal responsibility, but it would appear to me, I think there's a case to be made that getting involved with Walk the Talk America and promoting the message and the work that you guys do is exactly that personal responsibility that gun owners we pride ourselves in and talk about. This is a solution to a problem that doesn't involve government. Is that an accurate way of putting it?
100%. And even, to go into the whole point of a lot of these laws are made because people don't understand, right? So I want to be there. I want to have a connection to the people that maybe back these laws or try to write these laws, because far too long, they just wrote them. And I think it's important for us to say, okay, you need to understand the damage some of these laws can do. You need to understand why the community doesn't like these laws. I think that's important. So if we continue to stand on opposite sides of the room, right, with this self-imposed chasm, we're going to have more people writing laws that just don't make sense. They're feel-good laws, but they actually won't stop all the things that both sides wants to accomplish.
So even if it doesn't resonate with you that people may need help, suicide is something that we should prevent. Even if that doesn't resonate with you, the idea that they, like you said, use an enormous number. How many people are killed, using a firearm every year? 2/3 of those are suicide victims. Taking that away from the other side, and taking away their ability to use that to create more bad laws is something that every gun owner should probably care about.
100%. I agree with that statement right there. And I mean, that's just what it's all about. This is a way, I truly feel that most people don't want people to die or be hurt. So I just want to make that clear as well. But I get it. Like, people are like, hey, it's their free will. But you have to understand the big picture, right? You got to look down the field when it comes to this stuff. And that's why we're here now. It's because for far too long, we kind of just turned our back on it and said, hey, it's not our issue. It's a mental health issue. They got to deal with it.
And suicide is preventable. It's not like, you can't say, well, gee, there's a certain percentage of society that's just simply going to commit suicide, and there's nothing we can do. It's a natural part of society. It is preventable. You can look at other communities or other societies and see vast differences, enormous differences in the rate of suicide. For example, my understanding is Japan has a huge suicide rate. And, oh, by the way, they have, almost 0% gun ownership, right? Am I right on that? Or
Right. Yeah, that's correct. And here's the thing. I'm not here to tell you that suicide is preventable, like we're going to bring suicides down as a whole. My goal, because I come from the firearms industry, is to try to prevent suicide by firearm and get that number down.
So tell us about the origin story for Walk the Talk. How did Walk the Talk America come about?
Well, it actually started from a chance meeting when I owned Eagle Imports, which is an importer of firearms. I was out with my national sales manager, and we invited a complete stranger from the bar we were sitting at waiting for our table for dinner. And at the time, there was a mass shooting of, I can't remember which one, but she asked one simple question. She's like, what happens during this? Like, she didn't care about firearms either way, but she goes, what happens? And I said, well, everybody blames the firearms industry. The firearms industry blames mental health, and nothing ever happens. And she asked one question, which changed my life. She said, if you understand what the issue is and you understand what the problem is and you think it's a mental health issue, what is the firearms industry doing with the mental health community to find some solutions? And I just took that whole concept and ran with it because I thought about it for a second. And I'm like, look, we can't give legislation and restriction. We can't give that. That's a non-starter, but there has to be something that we can do to get ahead of this. And really what I thought about was how the alcohol industry got ahead of DUIs, right? And that's what I want to do with the gun industry. Nobody blames Johnny Walker when somebody gets behind the wheel and does something horrific or tragic. And I feel like we can get there. Wow,
that's an interesting comparison. What's your background in the firearms industry?
I am a third-generation firearm industry expert, but I got my job through nepotism, so it worked out for me. I wouldn't even consider myself necessarily a gun person, right? I became that later in life, but it's an industry I got thrown into after college because of my family business, and we were one of the largest importers in the United States of firearms. We represented manufacturers outside of the U.S. that didn't have their own facilities here or weren't large enough to have their own manufacturing. We do everything for them. So we built their brand, handled their customer service, their sales. Some of the firearms you might know, American Classic out of the Philippines, Bursa out of Argentina, Grand Power out of Slovakia. We had a number of different lines. So that's what that was our main business.
Has there been how long have you guys been around? How many years?
Oh, we were around for 30 years. You talking about Walk the Talk?
I'm sorry. Yeah, back to Walk the Talk. How long has Walk the Talk been around?
2018 is when it started. So we're fairly new.
So okay. So in that time, how have anti-gun organizations responded to you? Has there been much talk with them, or is that even a goal?
Absolutely, it is a goal because I believe that a lot of people that are anti-gun are just gun ignorant. So my whole thing is I want to make those connections. I want people to understand certain things. The pushback, we don't get it from the anti-gun side. As a matter of fact, we get more compliments than we do anything else because it's easy to destroy that perception when they think you don't do anything, right? So when I meet somebody that may be from, say, Brady or Mom's Man Action, I like to show them, hey, you want action? Like, here are the things we're doing. Here's the things that the firearms industry is doing to get ahead of this. And usually they're blown away by that because, once again, they don't have a high expectation level for us. We got to change that.
Do you get criticism from gun owners or pro-gun groups?
I do sometimes. Usually that's just from a misunderstanding, right? They see mental health and firearms in the same sentence, and they think that we're blaming the gun.
Yeah.
But usually that we can take care of that, just with a conversation or if people do any research into the the organization. But it has happened before.
It makes us nervous, and it's kind of understandable. It feels like somebody somewhere along the way has, kind of pitted us against each other. And I don't know. I think that's an enormous. I was going to say it's a huge wound to heal, but it's probably 1,000 wounds to heal. That's a big job. So what's the strategy? What's the outreach strategy, or how do we do this? How are you guys going to be successful over the next 10 years?
Well, I'd say we've been really successful. I'm really pleased with where this organization has come in the last 3 years.
Nice.
What we have to do is we have to keep getting manufacturers, companies from the gun industry, whether it's a scope company, whether it's a handgun company, our company, we all have to come together and get in on this and start working towards these solutions that Walk the Talk America has provided, like the free mental health screenings that we have firearms manufacturers put in the boxes of their guns. Companies like Arms Corps and High Point, they're getting ahead of it. They're putting that stuff out there. We got to keep training mental health clinicians, which you had Jake on earlier, so I'm sure he touched on that.
Yeah.
But we got to keep bringing the two communities together so we can learn from each other and think of these out-of-the-box ideas that 4 years ago didn't exist.
That's awesome. What's a notable achievement? What in just the 3 years you guys have been around? What are some accomplishments that you're particularly proud of?
Oh man, we could talk all day. Some of the stuff has really blown me away. But one of the things I'm most proud of is in 2019, we were invited to the White House to be part of a suicide prevention task force of the VA, and being in a room with 30 brilliant minds and this punk kid that grew up in Jersey, and I realized that I was the only person representing the firearms industry there.
Wow.
And it was really cool to kind of work on some of these solutions and have the firearms industry be there to be something positive, right? Not in a negative light, showing them, hey, we can help you. You just got to change the narrative about us. But, bringing the two communities together is the thing I'm most proud of. There's ways that we've worked with the mental health community to shoot down anti-gun legislation, because that legislation just so happens to add to the stigma of mental health. We also have mental health organizations that contact us and they say, hey, look, someone's asking us to back this bill. Tell me why this is a bad idea again. And that's really what I wanted, right? I want them to reach out. I want them to learn from it.
It does. It's just... All right, folks. Welcome back to Gun Owners Radio, FM 96.1. AM 1170.
The Answer.
Hey, you gonna let him interrupt you?
Nope.
Well, he's armed now.
I'd fire. I'd take him out, dude. It's okay.
No.
Watch him pop. All right, folks. Hey, we're proud to partner with the National Concealed Carry Association as a 10-ring partner. NCCA exists to serve the Second Amendment community by providing a nationwide network of 2A advocates. They offer elite self-defense and concealed carry training from the nation's top instructors. They provide rock-bottom prices on the best selection of gear and accessories. Join them today. Members get great prices and free shipping. You can learn a whole lot more about National Concealed Carry Association.com.
Okay, we're talking to Mike Sodini from Walk the Talk America. So, Mike, how do you describe this in like two sentences? When someone says, "What do you guys do?" How do you describe Walk the Talk America? You're a what kind of organization?
We are a firearms industry mental health community bridge. What we do is we look for innovative ways to get people the help they need when they're in crisis without fear of consequence.
And how's your relationship with media been since you guys started?
Oh, it's been excellent. That's the thing is, like, once again, I think the expectation level has been so low from the community that, when they see what we're doing, they're really blown away by it. It's something that anybody can get behind. And that's the unique thing about this organization, because even at the end of the day, you say, I don't really like firearms and I'm never going to be a gun person, but I really dig what these guys are doing, right? Like, because it's an action move. It's boots on the ground. It's root cause mitigation. It's not silly legislation that makes people feel good but doesn't do anything.
And you were saying that you were at an event at the White House, and which was very cool, and that you were the only representative of the firearms industry. Do you think that is your organization being embraced by pro Second Amendment groups and the firearms industry as much as you should be?
I think so. I think we're starting to turn a corner. We do get a lot of support. We get a lot of support from manufacturers. We just got a massive amount of support from Ruger, which is really nice. So I think it's starting to turn the corner. I think people are starting to see the value in this. And who doesn't want to help people? I mean, that's just it, right? We want to make ourselves look good as well, but we also want to help people. Most of the people that I met when I came into the firearms community were really good people, and we weren't the people that they said we were, right? You always hear these things like, oh, when there's a mass shooting, they get excited and they're cheering because that's more money. No, it wasn't like that. I've been at gun shows when these tragic events happen, and I used to look around, and all the manufacturers that I knew, some of them were crying, right? So that's the kind of thing that I wanted to expose to the rest of the world. It's like, we are good people, and we do care about life, and that's really what the second is about, right? As a whole, it's about defending your family. It's about liberty, and I think that this is just something that the gun community in general, just can get behind.
That's awesome. So what's your biggest obstacle? What obstacle are you guys battling right now?
The biggest obstacle would be manpower. Obviously the financial. The great thing about this is that everybody that's been involved has been doing this for the love of the game. Guys like Jake and Rob Pincus and Colleen Noir. All these people that are behind this dedicate their time and donate it. So it'd be great to have a team, to get out there. But we're starting to build off that. Here we are in year 3. I think a lot of companies, I think the industry as a whole, because it's a new concept, they needed to see like staying power, right? Like year 1, it's like, okay, I like what they're saying. Are they going to be around? Now here we are, year 3, and we're stronger than ever. So I think the biggest obstacle would be, finances, and then just people knowing about the organization.
So we had Ashley Lubinsky on a few weeks ago, earlier this month, to talk about same subject. Not talk about your organization specifically, but talk about mental health and firearms ownership. And I saw that she's a new board member. Congratulations!
Yes.
Yeah, that's awesome. Now,
yes.
What is she?
I love Ashley. She's great.
What does she bring to the board? Talk about what she brings to your board and organization.
She's just brilliant. Everything about her is great. But, one thing that I do love about her is she fights in the open, right? She battles bipolar too. And she's not afraid to talk about it. And she knows she aligns with our mission. She has experience in the firearms industry. She knows the history of the firearms industry. I think she brings a lot. So I'm really excited to have her.
That's awesome. So what are some goals, or what are you guys looking forward to for 2022?
Man, I'm looking forward to SHOT Show. We were rocking and rolling, and then the end of the world happened with COVID, and all these shows got canceled. So a lot of the organizations that I was kind of targeting, or manufacturers I was targeting to go talk to, I didn't get to do that. And I feel like this is the type of mission that needs a face-to-face meeting with explanation of what we do. So I'm really looking forward to January, to getting out to the largest firearm show in the United States and seeing some of these manufacturers, in person, so we can get rolling.
So I have a little co-host here, Action Jackson. How old are you, Jackson?
8.
And how often do you shoot?
Once a week.
Once a week at Glock Store, right?
Yep.
And you're people know you from Instagram because you're service dog, right?
Indeed.
Indeed. What's your service or what's his Instagram handle?
@servicedog_Chase.
Awesome. So Mike, what should guys like? What would you like Jackson and his generation to know? I guess let me phrase that a little bit different. What would you like him to grow up knowing about the mental health industry that we got wrong growing up about, regarding the mental health industry?
I would say that I would like him to understand that most people on the mental health side just want to help people, and they're not, necessarily these gun grabbers that are trying to take away firearms. There's a lot of them out there that just truly care about humans and they want to make Earth better. And I think that, once again, we need to bridge that gap and have proper information flow and education and everything like that, and access, right, to mental health help when you're in crisis and without fear of consequence or wearing a scarlet A on your chest. I think that's the most important thing.
Okay, so and that brings up a good question. We've asked about how does the industry, how does media, how do the different gun organizations, pro and against, respond to you? How has the mental health industry responded to you guys?
It's been great because never in their wildest dreams would they ever think that gun manufacturers would be putting in mental health flyers that lead to free and anonymous screenings, things like that. I think they've been really impressed. And they embrace it, right? They embrace it. They want to learn. They want to understand. So I would say it's been positive on that note.
Wow, no pushback, no, character assassinations, no, hey, look, we're the experts, fall in line. It's all been positive?
It's all been positive. I'll tell you why. So when I ran Eagle Imports, one of the things with my employees is that I couldn't stand when they would come to me with a problem and didn't offer any type of solution.
Right.
It's like, don't just point out problems unless you have some solution. It didn't matter if it was a silly solution. I needed a solution. And I kind of feel it's the same way. When I show them all the things that the firearms community is doing, I feel like they're like, wow, they're doing more than we are.
So Mike,
I feel like we're bringing the solutions.
Hey, Mike, this is Dave. So did you go to the mental health community, or did the mental health community come to you?
I went to them.
Were they shocked?
Yeah. Yes, they were. As a matter of fact, that's a real quick funny story. Is the very first time that I met with Mental Health America, I'd sent them an email and they said, "Hey, we've been reading your email. We'd like you to come out to LA and come to one of our conferences." And I just so happened to show up so early that the vice president of Mental Health America was out front, and she said, "Who are you?" And I said, I was invited here. I'm the gun guy." And she goes, "Ooh, we are so happy you're here." She goes, "We didn't think you'd show up." And that's when I knew. That's when I knew I was onto something, because, how many of us actually go in there and actually try to communicate? I'm sure it's been done before, but I wanted to really do it and use the Oxford manner, right, which is the ability to play with other people's ideas in a graceful manner and just go in there and say, here, we need to figure out a way to work together, and it's been great so far.
All right, so we have a couple of organizations here in California, and we're continuing to grow. We have thousands of members: San Diego and Orange County Gun Owners and Inland Empire Gun Owners, and then we're going to have our women's program, Not Me. What can we do to support you guys? What would you like to see an organization like ours, and of course our gun show? How do we actually support you guys?
Well, one of the ways I'd love you to support is to have the mental health flyers available to anybody that's in your network. I think that's really important. They lead to free and anonymous mental health screenings. There's 13 of them. Obviously getting that information out there, I think, is key and vital. And I know some people say, well, what do mental health screenings actually do? Believe it or not, at least once a week, I get somebody that says they took the screening and it changed their life. Something usually for the positive, right? They usually go to seek treatment, or they find something out about themselves. If you have any events,
what does that mean?
And we can.
What does that mean? Mental health screening. What is that actually doing?
So a screening is good. You don't even have to be in crisis to take a screening, but let's just say that you have a suspicion that you suffer from bad anxiety, or maybe you think you have depression. You can go on there and ask you a series of questions, and like I said, it's free and anonymous. Just give them whatever information you want. If you go on there, you answer it honestly, you can get a true assessment of where you might be and where you fall on certain levels, right? Like maybe you have low anxiety, maybe you have high anxiety, and then it tells you how to mitigate that. And then it can connect you with people that might be able to help you. So a screening, though, once again, you don't have to be in crisis. Maybe everything's going great in your life, but maybe you just want to see where you're at, right? Maintain your mental health like as you do your physical health.
And you got to be honest when you're doing the survey.
Yeah. You have to be honest with yourself, or that's never going to work.
Well, yeah, but you know how many people will turn around and say, I'll take the test, but I'm okay.
Yeah, that's true. But, hey, that's one of the things we're trying to change, right? So you just got to.
Well, that's the only reason I wanted to bring it up. I mean, if you're truly wanting to take, look into yourself, you need to be honest with yourself. So excellent program. Excellent.
Where do people go? If our listeners want to go give you $50 real quick, where do they go to do that?
They go to WTTA.org or WalkTheTalkAmerica.org, or you can find us on all social medias at WalkTheTalkUS.
All right, buddy. Hey, Merry Christmas, and we'll talk to you down the road, I'm sure.
Merry Christmas. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you having me on.
Thanks for watching this clip from Gun Owners Radio. You can watch us live every Sunday from 4 to 6 p.m. California time, right here on our YouTube channel, or if you're in the San Diego area, you can listen to us on 1170 a.m. We're also available on your favorite podcast platform for free. Don't forget to like and subscribe so that you can help restore and protect the Second Amendment, not just in California, but across the country.